Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Dan Blanchard with the Traveling Time with Dan Show, where we mix travel with history, with leadership, and of course with me, Dan Blanchard. Today I'm in Philadelphia at Congress Hall. Now there's a couple things you need to understand about this old city here in Philadelphia and in the United States, right? Philadelphia, believe it or not, Philly, some people call it, was the largest and most cosmopolitan city in the United States in the late 1700s, right? And there was this thing called the Residence Act of 1790. There's a lot behind it about getting the federal, Alexander Hamilton, getting the federal government to take on the state's debts after the war. And the South didn't like our government being up in New York, so they wanted their government capital to be down in Virginia. But while they were going to spend the 10 years or so building up Virginia, Washington, D.C., I should say, building up Washington, D.C., the government, they had to go somewhere. And they didn't want to stay in New York, so they figured, hey, Philly being, one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the United States, let's do the Residence Act to put our government's capital, our nation's capital, right here in Philly. And this is Congress Hall, the temporary capital for 10 years. This is where Congress worked during those 10 years, from 1790 to 1800, during those 10 years. This was the United States temporary capital, okay? Right here at Congress Hall. Now this was like a county courthouse. It basically became the seat of the United States Congress, all right? You see it's got the Georgian architecture, it represents like the Greece, Rome, democratic ideals. It's a little bit of a move away, architecturally speaking, a little bit of a move away from the British buildings that you'll see like a lot in Boston, right? The British buildings there. If I was going to sum this up just real quick, I would say this is what happened. Next to Congress Hall is Independence Hall, right? This is where they declared independence by right in the Constitution. Congress Hall is where they tested the Constitution. Could we actually govern ourselves? England's kind of betting that we can't, right? And so some other places, like Spain and France, they're kind of doing little tiny things to divide us, sabotage us, keep us weak, whatnot, so they can have their way with us on the world markets and all that stuff. So can we govern ourselves? We're going to have a 10-year test period coming right out of this building, Congress Hall, of figuring out, can we govern ourselves? And we actually do a pretty good job, right? See, on the first floor, you're going to see the House of Representatives. That's like the people, right? The people. The second floor above it's going to be the Senate, right? The more prestigious Senate's going to be up on top. And one of the biggest things that's going to come out of here is that the anti-federalists are going to force us to basically come up with a Bill of Rights. And that Bill of Rights is ratified right here in this building. Now, it's proposed by James Madison in New York. Remember, Washington's first thing was in New York, right? So this it was proposed in New York, where James Madison thought he was going to lose his job. People were saying, oh, you don't want a Bill of Rights. It wasn't, you don't want people to have rights. It wasn't about that. He didn't want to enumerate rights, because let's just say he enumerated 10 rights, then people would think that was your only rights. You only had those 10 rights. And it was like, no, we got way more than those rights, than those 10 rights. We got way more than those 10 rights. So Madison was really worried about that. People were just saying it would be just that, right? So he was going to lose his job in Congress, and he promised Congress if they re-elected him, he would do the Bill of Rights. And to his credit, he did when they re-elected him. Right? He got on the Bill of Rights. A whole bunch of other people were like, nah, we don't need it. A bunch of other senators, Congress people were like, we don't need it. Madison's like, we need it. We have to have it. So again, it was proposed in New York by James Madison. He did a lot of work on it, ratified right here in this building, and it might be one of their greatest achievements, right? Again, this is during the time that Washington and Adams are here, okay? Then this becomes the framework, right? This Bill of Rights, the Constitution, becomes the framework, right, for individual rights. It's going to last centuries. And it takes place right here, okay? This is also the birthplace of the American two-party system, what George Washington was trying to prevent when he was in New York and he came here, and it just couldn't stop it, right? The two-party system, the Federalists, and of course there were anti-Federalists, but the Federalists, and the Democrat, Republicans. Yes, I said that correctly. You know, it was the Democrat, Republicans, Republican, Democrats. That was the one party. Today, you know, obviously you got the Democrats, you got the Republicans, or two parties today, right? So, like I said, Washington's inauguration was in this building, right there, right up on the, he stood up on the balcony. Adams' first inauguration was right here, right here, okay? And Adams ended up being revolutionary. You know, when he goes to Washington, D.C. to do his second term, he's going to be revolutionary because he's willingly going to give up power to who he considers his basically enemy, Thomas Jefferson, right? He willingly doesn't fight it, doesn't stay in the White House. He gives up power. The executive mansion, I think is what they called it those days, doesn't give up his power. He willingly gives up his power to Jefferson, and that was just revolutionary, right? So this is the place, right here. This is the place, right? This is the decade where the Constitution was tested, right? And it was developed. Philly developed the Constitution, developed institutions, and carried forth all that governing power to D.C., right? This is more than a museum, right? It's a monument of transition from a fragile confederation of states to a functioning national republic. Comes out of here. Our country gets bigger. While we're here, our country grew. You know, Vermont came in, Kentucky came in, Tennessee came in. There was just so many amazing things happened in those 10 years that our country's capital was here and Congress was working out of this building. Now, you know, when I do my shows of Travel on Time with Dan, I mix travel with history and leadership, right? This is a really cool place, old city in Philadelphia. You definitely got to travel down here. Independence Hall, the old city hall over there, just so much. You got to travel down here and check this place out. I've already given you some history, right? So what is the what's the leadership principle here today? The leadership principle here today is building institutions matters more than building personal power. Yes, institutions carry on long after we're gone. They have the collective synergy, energy. They're more powerful than just personal power. All right, everybody, thank you for spending time with me today on the Travel and Time with Dan show, where we mix travel with history and leadership, and of course with me. I'm going to be back real soon with another great show. Till then, you take care now.